The conversation of the evening. Now, the recent devastating matric exam results that shook the nation due to only 5,812 candidates qualifying for tertiary education. Now, the majority of learners who did not acquire the desirable points to qualify for tertiary education will be forced to enroll at institutions that probably would not be accredited by the Namibia Qualification Authority. Now, to find out more on which institutions are liable, I'm joined on the line by the Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Qualification Authority, that is Franz Gertze. So good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Gertze, good evening.
Good evening, Nina.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Blessed and prosperous 2023. Yes, thank you.
To start with, Mr. Gertze, talk to us about, the mandate of the NQA in terms of your aims and objectives.
Well, the NQA was established as an institution to assist with the reform of the education system in Namibia. And part of the reform is what we are still experiencing. We are going through the AS ordinary diploma. That's part of the reform process. The NQA was established with a number of 10 of them. So the first is to establish the NQA, to accredit institutions to set standards for curriculum, for institutions, etc. That is what the NQA was established for, about 1996, way of an act. So that is what the NQA is about. We are actually an institution, as I have said, established to set up the NQF, to set standards, to do accreditation, and all of these should be construed contributing to the quality of education and training in our beloved country. Yes.
Mr. Gertze, what does it mean for an institution to be accredited?
Well, for an institution to be accredited, it means you'll be able to have students graduate with qualifications that enable them to study further, that can secure funding. The reputation of the institution is of such nature that it is recognized globally. Accreditation certainly a number of purposes. But for an institution to be accredited, you must meet a number of criteria of standards. Amongst them include governance, funding, student support, assessment, certification criteria, research, etc. If those criteria are met, accreditation is granted. Now, unfortunately, the debate that is ongoing is not only about accreditation. It's about what happens behind the curtain with regards to accreditation. But to come back to the question of accreditation and what will happen post these examinations is that we will find a number of institutions arising to fill the gap of demand for further studies. And that is where the NQA must come in strongly and firmly to avoid exploitation of students, but also to support those who want to study further by advising them on how to study, particularly at accredited institutions.
So What is it, Mr. Gertze, that students and parents should be looking out for when applying to these institutions in order to avoid, applying to an institution that's not accredited?
In these times of high rate, I would advise contact the NQA. Very simply, just contact the NQA. It's a simple stage to be completed, which we assist by looking at and advising the students within 7 days or more. We can give you advice as to what to look out for, but this is high-risk time. Our advice would be just contact the NQA, complete the forms, and we will assist you with advice on accredited institutions or not.
Any final remarks from you this evening, Mr. Gertze?
Well, I would advise us all, let the debate about the quality of the outcome go on, but let's do it with forum. Let's do it with rationale. Let's look at why the change is introduced, what are the problems we are experiencing, and how do we move forward as a nation. There is no need for us to look back and say and blame each other. The most important thing is, yes, change is taking place. How do we move forward? And that is my advice.
Mr. Gertze, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Oh.